Night falls over the scattered villages of the Visayan Islands, and the full moon rises above the horizon, casting silver light across rivers and rice paddies. But tonight, something is different. The moon seems to shrink, a shadow creeping across its surface as whispers spread through the village. It is coming, the Bakunawa. The Bakunawa, a colossal serpent of sea and sky, is no ordinary dragon. Ancient stories say its scales shimmer like molten silver, its eyes burn like twin moons, and its roar shakes the oceans and mountains alike. For generations, the villagers have lived in awe and terror, for when Bakunawa rises, it devours the moon, plunging the night into darkness and bringing storms and famine in its wake. The elders speak of its origin. Some say it was a god of the sea cast down for its pride. Others claim it was a creature born from the first tides, a cosmic serpent who hungered for celestial bodies. Whatever its true origin, the effect is the same. When Bakunawa awakens, the sky itself becomes a battlefield. Tonight, the villagers gather in the central clearing, drums in hand, torches flickering in the night wind. They know the rituals, the pounding of the drums, the chanting of ancient prayers, the offering of light and noise to frighten the dragon away. But the shadow on the moon grows, a reminder that this is no simple tale of heroes and monsters. This is a story of cosmic hunger, of a force beyond human control, and of the delicate balance between humans and the heavens. And so, the question lingers: can mortals, armed only with courage and song, stand against a dragon that devours moons? Or is this the night the Bakunawa will finally succeed? To understand the terror and reverence surrounding the Bakunawa, we must journey back to a time before written records, when islands were young and the sea ruled the lives of the people. The first storytellers of the Visayas, the Babaylan's priests, shamans, and keepers of sacred knowledge spoke of the Bakunawa not just as a monster, but as a cosmic force. Its existence was tied to the cycles of the moon, the tides, and the unseen balance between heaven and earth. Legends say that Bakunawa was born from the union of the ocean and the sky, a creature that existed long before man walked the islands. Its scales were said to glimmer like moonlight dancing on the waves, and its eyes shone like molten silver. Unlike dragons of Western imagination, Bakunawa was not merely a predator, it was a being of hunger and balance, a guardian of cosmic order in its own terrifying way. The earliest myths tell of a time when the moon itself hung low over the oceans, close enough to touch. It was said that the moon was a divine pearl, a treasure of the gods, giving light to the islands and regulating the tides. But the Bakunawa, insatiable and immense, sought this pearl, drawn by its brilliance and the power it contained. Each time it rose, it lunged from the ocean depths, wrapping its sinuous body around the moon, attempting to swallow it whole. When it succeeded, darkness would fall over the islands, rivers would rise in violent tides, and crops would wither. Under the eclipse, the people knew these were not just coincidences. Bakunawa's hunger disrupted the delicate balance of life, and its wrath was swift and terrible. Stories passed from generation to generation describe the earliest encounters between humans and Bakunawa. Villagers, small against the vast night sky, would gather along the cliffs and shores, watching as the enormous dragon unfurled its wings across the stars. The Babaylans would lead the people in ritual chants and ceremonies, pounding drums, clanging metal, and shouting prayers into the wind, all to drive the serpent back into the sea. They believed that noise, fire, and unity could startle the dragon, forcing it to release the moon and retreat beneath the waves. These rituals were not mere superstition, they were acts of survival, anchoring communities through fear, discipline, and shared belief. But Bakunawa was cunning. It did not attack the moon randomly. Ancient stories suggest it had a pattern, striking when the moon was at its fullest, when its light bathed the fields and rivers. Perhaps it craved the fullness, the concentrated power that gave life to the night. The elders say that the dragon could sense weakness in humanity moments when villages were divided, when fear overcame courage, and in those times, Bakunawa's attacks were most successful. Entire nights could pass with the dragon coiling around the moon, its jaws gnashing, the sky darkened, and the drums failing to reach its ears. Its jaws gnashing, its jaws gnashing, its jaw darkened, and the drums failing to reach its ears. In such moments, the people learned that courage was not just a choice, it was necessary for survival. The legends also describe the Bakunawa's voice, a sound that echoed across land and sea. When it roared, it was said to shake the mountains and stir the tides into frenzy. Rivers would flood and the winds would howl through palm groves. Boats could be overturned and fishermen lost in the currents. Villagers believed that the dragon's voice was the first warning of its arrival, the harbinger of an eclipse, and the sign that they must gather, make noise, and protect the moon with everything they had. Yet there was also a strange reverence. In these stories, Bakunawa was feared, yes, but it was also respected. The dragon was not evil, it was a force of nature, a reminder that humans were not masters of the heavens. It demanded acknowledgement, respect, and understanding. The Balins taught that attempting to fight or anger Bakunawa would only bring misfortune. But appeasing it, honoring the moon, and maintaining cosmic balance could ensure the dragon's mercy. The dragon was, in essence, a teacher. It showed humanity the limits of control and the need to coexist with powers far beyond mortal reach. Over time, the myths grew more elaborate. Some stories claim that Bakunawa was once a divine serpent who challenged the gods themselves, attempting to steal the moon not just out of hunger, but out of ambition. It wanted to claim the moon's power, to pull it from the heavens and rule the night. The gods, angered by its audacity, cast it down to the oceans and bound it to the cycles of the moon, giving humans the power to repel it with rituals and chants. The serpent's periodic attempts to devour the moon became a cosmic game of balance, one in which humans were active participants. Guardians of the night sky. Other tales suggest that Bakunawa's hunger was not limited to the moon. It was said to devour stars and constellations, though more rarely. When this happened, the stars would disappear from the sky, leaving voids that frightened and awed those who gazed upward. The villagers believed that eclipses were merely the beginning. If Bakunawa ever succeeded in swallowing the moon entirely, the night would remain in darkness and the world would enter a time of chaos. It was a threat both literal and symbolic, embodying the fragile boundary between light and dark, order and chaos. Perhaps the most intriguing part of the legends is how they tie Bakunawa to the human experience. The dragon is often described as a mirror of human emotions, insatiable hunger, ambition, pride, and sometimes even grief. Scholars who study these myths suggest that Bakunawa reflects the fears and struggles of the early islanders, vulnerability to natural disasters, dependence on agriculture, the dangers of the sea, and the awe-inspiring beauty of the night sky. In this way, Bakunawa is not just a dragon of destruction, but a narrative vessel through which ancient people made sense of the unknown. Interestingly, local variations of the myth exist across the Visayan Islands. In some villages, Bakunawa is gentle, only attempting to swallow the moon out of curiosity or playfulness, while in others it is merciless, a wrathful predator demanding tribute from the humans. Some elders claimed that Bakunawa could be appeased by offerings of food, incense, or ritual dances, while others insisted that courage, noise, and unity were the only true defense. These variations show that the legend was alive, evolving with each generation, shaped by culture, environment, and the personal experiences of those who lived beneath the dragon's gaze. By the time the Spanish arrived in the Philippines, Bakunawa was firmly embedded in the oral traditions of the islands. Chroniclers noted that the islanders performed elaborate moon-protecting rituals, beating drums and throwing torches into the sky to frighten off serpents. The dragon was not a mere story. It was a lived experience guiding social cohesion, maintaining spiritual practices, and explaining celestial phenomena. Even eclipses, which today we understand scientifically, were interpreted as Bakunawa's hunger, a cosmic event intertwined with human action and belief. The Bakunawa myth also intersects with cosmology. Some accounts describe it as a link between the ocean, the sky, and the underworld. Its long, serpentine body connects the deep waters to the heavens, symbolizing the flow of energy, life, and death. When it swallows the moon, it temporarily disrupts this flow, creating a moment of imbalance that humans must actively correct. Through this lens, the dragon is not only a monster, but a mediator of cosmic forces, teaching lessons of vigilance, respect, and harmony. And so, the legend of the Bakunawa is more than just a tale of a moon-eating dragon. It is a story of humans learning to navigate a world of unseen forces, of courage in the face of incomprehensible power, and of a universe where every action, prayers, chants, and rituals can ripple across the cosmos. In a world without telescopes or satellites, the Bakunawa gave structure to the night sky, meaning to eclipses, and a narrative for survival. By understanding these stories, we glimpse a worldview where dragons are not merely beasts, but teachers, mirrors, and guardians. The Bakunawa's shadow across the moon is a warning and a guide, a reminder of human limitations and the extraordinary lengths early islanders would go to preserve life, balance, and order. And yet, even today, on nights when the moon hides behind a passing cloud, some elders whisper that the Bakunawa still circles above the oceans, hungry, patient, waiting for the night it can rise again. The legend endures, not as a simple tale of terror, but as a profound story of humanity's relationship with the sky, the sea, and the mysteries that bind them. The legends tell us that the Bakunawa was more than just a distant threat in the fight in the night sky. It was a presence felt deep in the hearts and lives of those who lived along the coasts and islands. The earliest accounts describe a time when humans first recognized the patterns of the dragon's attacks. The villagers learned that it was not random, nor was it purely driven by hunger. The Bakunawa seemed to follow a rhythm, appearing during specific phases of the moon, often coinciding with the planting or harvesting seasons. A missed warning could mean a ruined harvest, a flooded home, or the terrifying spectacle of the sky turning dark. In the small villages of Panay and Negros, Elders recall stories of the first attempts to confront the dragon. Babaylands, with their deep understanding of celestial phenomena and the language of spirits, would gather the entire community for the ritual known as Pagtangis Esabuan, or the Cry to the Moon. The ritual involved pounding gongs, beating drums, lighting torches, and shouting prayers into the night. Children, often terrified, clung to their parents. Yet even the youngest participants were believed to carry a spark of protective energy that contributed to the collective strength needed to ward off the Bakanawa. These ceremonies were more than mere defense. They were acts of unity and education. The Babaylands used the rituals to teach children the patterns of the moon, the importance of cooperation, and the sacred balance between humans and the natural world. Villagers understood that Bakanawa did not exist in isolation. It was a force tied to everything: the tides, the wind, the rain, and the fertility of the land. By honoring the dragon, they maintained not only the protection of the moon but also the harmony of life itself. One famous story recounts an eclipse so terrifying that it became legendary in the Visayan Islands. The moon, full and luminous, was swallowed almost entirely by the Bakanawa, plunging the land into a darkness so complete that even the ocean seemed to vanish into shadow. Villagers lit every torch, bell, and gong they possessed, shouting prayers to the spirits and gods. According to oral tradition, a single, courageous boy ran to the edge of the cliff, waving a torch high, and his bravery inspired others. The dragon, startled by the combined courage and noise, released the moon, retreating beneath the waves with a roar that shook the mountains. That night became a tale passed down for generations, illustrating that even the smallest individual could influence cosmic events when acting with courage and unity. The Bakanawa was also believed to test human ingenuity. Some accounts tell of clever villagers who devised intricate systems of mirrors and polished shells to reflect moonlight, hoping to trick the dragon into believing the moon had fled. Others constructed elaborate scaffolds and towers from which they could drum and shout, amplifying their sounds to the heavens. These inventive measures were not guaranteed to succeed, but they demonstrated a deep understanding of cause and effect, as well as the human desire to engage with forces far beyond ordinary reach. Legends speak of particular families and clans that claimed direct encounters with the Bakanawa. One story tells of a fisherman who, alone in his small boat, watched the dragon rise from the ocean. Instead of panic, he sang a lullaby his grandmother had taught him, a melody said to calm restless spirits. The dragon, intrigued, paused midair, coiling in the sky before slowly descending back into the sea. This tale became a symbol of the power of knowledge, tradition, and respect for forces one cannot fully control. It reinforced the idea that fear alone was insufficient. Understanding and reverence were equally essential in protecting the moon and the village. The myths also emphasize the duality of Bakanawa's nature. While it was a destructive force, it was also seen as a guardian. By attempting to consume the moon, the dragon ensured that humans remained vigilant, organized, and spiritually aware. It reminded the people of their place in the cosmos, teaching humility and resilience. Some elders even suggested that Bakanawa's attacks were a test sent by the gods to measure humanity's dedication to preserving balance in life. Those who failed to respond with unity and courage risked not only darkness but chaos in their communities. Historical accounts from the Spanish colonizers describe similar practices, noting that during lunar eclipses, entire communities engaged in frenetic activity, pounding on drums, shouting prayers, and creating loud noises. While the Spaniards interpreted these actions as superstition, the islanders understood them as practical rituals for survival, rooted in centuries of observation and oral history. Every drumbeat, torch, and chant was a link between human effort and cosmic order, an acknowledgement that the Bakunawa's hunger was a challenge to be met, not an inevitable disaster. The stories of Bakunawa's attacks are varied and vivid. Some describe the dragon as so immense that its shadow swallowed entire islands, while others depict it as serpentine, twisting through the sky with jaws wide enough to consume the moon. Villagers reported the sound of rushing air, like waterfalls in the sky, accompanied by the roar of scales scraping against clouds. Some even claimed to see sparks of light, remnants of the dragon's cosmic power, falling into the ocean, creating phosphorescent trails that would linger for nights. These accounts illustrate not only the fear inspired by Bakunawa, but also the awe and wonder it instilled in those who witnessed its presence. A particularly fascinating aspect of Bakunawa mythology is its integration into daily life. People believed that small actions could attract or repel the dragon's attention. Leaving offerings at riverbanks, lighting candles during specific lunar phases, and even singing certain songs could influence whether Bakunawa attacked or left the moon untouched. These practices created a dynamic relationship between humans and the dragon, where culture, belief, and natural observation intertwined seamlessly. The Bakunawa was not merely a mythological predator, but a partner in the ongoing story of life. On the islands, over generations, the dragon became a cultural touchstone. Stories of Bakunawa were taught in schools, shared during feasts, and woven into songs and dances. Each retelling reinforced communal values: courage, respect for nature, cleverness, and the importance of unity. The myth adapted with time, yet its essence remained unchanged. Even today, children in remote Visayan villages hear of the dragon and watch lunar eclipses with a mixture of fear, excitement, and wonder, a living connection to an ancient worldview. Interestingly, the Bakunawa's influence extended beyond rituals and stories. It shaped navigation, agriculture, and social behavior. Fishermen timed their departures and returns by lunar cycles, aware that eclipses could bring rough seas. Farmers monitored the moon for planting and harvesting, interpreting sudden darkness as a warning to take extra precautions. Villagers coordinated collective responses, ensuring that everyone contributed to the protection of the moon, fostering a deep sense of interdependence. The dragon's myth, therefore, was not merely entertainment. It was a framework for understanding and interacting with the environment. The Bakunawa also symbolized transformation. Legends suggest that the dragon could devour not only the moon but the spirits of humans who failed to respect cosmic order. These stories served as moral guidance, teaching that actions or inactions had consequences beyond the immediate. In this sense, Bakunawa functioned as a teacher, instilling ethical lessons alongside cultural knowledge, reminding people that their choices mattered in the broader tapestry of life and cosmos. Through these stories, we see that the Bakunawa myth is a rich tapestry, blending fear, reverence, strategy, and morality. It is a story of humans striving to understand forces beyond their control, finding ways to coexist, survive, and thrive. Each ritual, each tale, each song carries the weight of centuries of observation, adaptation, and spiritual engagement. The dragon's hunger for the moon is not merely a celestial phenomenon, it is a mirror reflecting human resilience, creativity, and devotion. Ultimately, Section 3 of the Bakunawa story emphasizes the dynamic interaction between humans and the dragon. It shows how ancient islanders transformed fear into knowledge, danger into ritual, and myth into a guiding framework for life. Bakunawa's periodic lunar attacks were not just tests of courage, they were lessons in unity, intelligence, and respect for the forces that govern existence. In learning to respond, to act collectively, and to honor the moon and the dragon, humans discovered the power within themselves and the enduring connection between the earth and the heavens. And so, the Bakunawa remains in the collective memory of the Visayas, not only as a creature of legend, but as a symbol of the intimate and complex relationship between humans and the cosmos. The dragon's story is a bridge across generations, linking the fear and awe of the past with the understanding and wonder of the present. A tale that continues to shape the cultural identity of the Fended Islands to this day. The Bakunawa's influence was felt most profoundly during extraordinary celestial events, particularly the lunar eclipses that would send entire communities into a frenzy. These events were never seen as mere accidents of the sky. They were interpreted as the dragon's deliberate attempts to swallow the moon. Across the Visayan Islands, the people observed patterns. Bakunawa's attacks occurred more frequently during certain times of the year, coinciding with harvests, monsoon winds, and tidal shifts. It seemed almost as if the dragon was not only a threat, but also a messenger, a celestial force reminding humanity of its place within the vast, interconnected cosmos. During these eclipses, the villages would transform. Children were summoned. From play, farmers left their fields, and fishermen returned from the sea. Babalans, the spiritual leaders and shamans, took central roles, directing the community in intricate rituals. These rituals combined music, dance, chants, and offerings, all carefully timed and orchestrated. Drums would beat in synchronized rhythms to mimic the heartbeat of the universe. Gongs would reverberate across the valleys, and torches would light the night, creating a luminous counterforce to the darkness threatening to consume the moon. The belief was that Bakunawa, though powerful, could be startled and even repelled by human unity, courage, and sound. One of the most enduring tales recounts an eclipse so dark that villagers feared the end of the world. The moon, appearing like a silver coin slowly being devoured, plunged the land into shadow. The elders, remembering their ancestors' stories, led the people in a night-long vigil. They sang songs said to soothe spirits, recited prayers invoking the gods' protection, and even enacted small theatrical representations of the dragon's journey. Children, initially frightened, were taught to join in, understanding that their voices added strength to the ritual. As the night wore on, the eclipse reached its zenith. It was at this precise moment that a young girl, no older than 12, stepped forward with a torch in hand. Her courage inspired others, and together, their combined energy was said to cause the Bakunawa to hesitate, releasing its grip on the moon and retreating into the ocean with a roar that echoed like thunder. This story became emblematic, illustrating that even the smallest among them could influence cosmic forces through bravery and collective action. The Bakunawa was not only feared for its direct attacks, but also for the unpredictable consequences it could bring to daily life. When the moon was swallowed, it was believed that the tides would behave erratically, Storms would brew without warning, and crops could fail unexpectedly. Fishermen found their nets empty as the sea itself seemed to respond to the dragons. Hunger. Farmers interpreted lunar eclipses as warnings to act with caution, delay planting or harvesting, or perform specific rituals to protect their fields. The dragon's presence was a constant reminder that humans were not masters of nature, but participants in a delicate balance, capable of influencing outcomes only when acting with knowledge, reverence, and unity. Oral traditions contain remarkable accounts of individuals who encountered Bakunawa directly. One story tells of a fisherman named Luncheon who, alone in his small boat, witnessed the dragon rise from the ocean like a colossal wave of shadow. The Bakunawa coiled through the clouds, its scales reflecting moonlight as it opened its jaw, wide enough to consume the celestial body. Rather than panic, Luncheon recited prayers taught by his grandmother and sang lullabies believed to calm spirits. The dragon paused mid-air as if listening, before slowly retreating beneath the waves. This story highlights a recurring theme in Bakunawa mythology. Knowledge, courage, and respect for the supernatural could protect humans even against overwhelming forces. Some villages developed elaborate systems to safeguard the moon. They constructed tall watchtowers from which groups could shout, beat drums, and wave torches, creating the illusion of a larger, more threatening force. Mirrors and polished shells were used to reflect moonlight, tricking the dragon into thinking the moon had fled or that humans possessed protective magic. Every household, regardless of social standing, participated in these communal efforts. The rituals were not merely defensive. They were educational, teaching each generation about celestial cycles, environmental awareness, and the importance of collective responsibility. The Bakunawa myth also reflects the complex understanding ancient Filipinos had of astronomy and lunar cycles. The dragon's attacks coincided with actual lunar eclipses, suggesting that these myths were informed by careful observation over centuries. Villagers noticed the connection between Bakunawa's appearances and patterns in tides, rainfall, and the seasons. They translated these observations into rituals and stories, blending practical knowledge with spiritual significance. In this way, the dragon served as both a mythological figure and a celestial teacher, guiding humans in their understanding of the natural world while also instilling cultural values. Interestingly, the Bakunawa was sometimes portrayed as a test of moral and spiritual character. Stories suggest that individuals or communities who acted selfishly, ignored traditions, or failed to honor their ancestors were more likely to face destructive eclipses. Conversely, those who practiced unity, generosity, and reverence were protected. One account tells of a village that, during a lunar eclipse, refused to follow the elders' rituals and instead mocked the Babaylans. That night, the Bakunawa appeared in its most fearsome form, consuming nearly the entire moon and plunging the land into unnatural darkness for hours. The lesson was clear: disrespecting the balance between humans, nature, and the cosmos carried consequences. The dragon's role extended beyond eclipses. Bakunawa was believed to patrol the night skies regularly. Its presence felt even when the moon was full and bright. Villagers would sing protective songs, leave offerings along riverbanks, and maintain certain customs believed to keep the dragon appeased. These practices fostered a profound connection between humans and their environment. Every action, from the timing of planting crops to the direction of one's gaze at night, was linked to the dragon's influence. In this way, Bakunawa became more than a myth. became a guiding framework for daily life, integrating spirituality, ecology, and social cohesion. The narratives also include tales of heroes and heroines whose courage or wisdom directly confronted. Bakunawa, a famous story, recounts the efforts of a brother and sister who, noticing that the dragon was approaching during a lunar eclipse, devised a plan involving drums, torches, and reflective shells. The siblings led their village in a coordinated performance, creating such noise and light that the dragon, confused and alarmed, retreated. The siblings became legendary figures, symbolizing the power of ingenuity, leadership, and community coordination in the face of seemingly insurmountable forces. Legends also describe the dragon's interaction with other celestial bodies. Some stories suggest that Bakunawa sought not only the moon but also stars, believing that consuming them would increase its power. When villagers noticed that certain stars were dimmer or missing, they interpreted it as a warning or a sign that Bakunawa was approaching. This connection between the dragon and the cosmos reinforced the idea that humans were active participants in a vast, dynamic universe, where observation, ritual, and respect were essential to survival and prosperity. Over time, the Bakunawa myth influenced art, literature, and cultural identity across the Philippines. Carvings, textiles, and musical compositions depict the dragon's serpentine form and its celestial feats. Songs and dances reenact lunar eclipses, turning fear into celebration, and teaching lessons of courage and unity. Even today, modern interpretations of Bakunawa appear in festivals, visual media, and literature, highlighting the enduring relevance of these ancient narratives. The dragon serves as a cultural bridge, connecting contemporary communities with centuries of ancestral wisdom and cosmic awareness. Ultimately, Section 4 emphasizes Bakunawa's multifaceted role in Philippine culture. It was a predator, a teacher, a test of courage, a symbol of unity, and a guide to understanding the natural and celestial worlds. Its presence shaped rituals, daily life, moral values, and collective memory. By confronting the dragon through noise, light, prayer, and courage, communities not only protected the moon but also reinforced social cohesion, environmental awareness, and spiritual understanding. Bakunawa was a force that demanded attention, respect, and ingenuity, ensuring that humans remain vigilant, connected, and humble in the face of cosmic power. Through these rich stories and detailed accounts, it becomes clear that Bakunawa was never merely a monster to be feared. It was a teacher, a mirror reflecting humanity's strengths and weaknesses, and a constant reminder of the delicate balance between human activity and the greater forces of the universe. The dragon's mythology continues to inspire awe, shaping cultural consciousness and preserving ancient knowledge about astronomy, ethics, and social responsibility. In the end, the Bakunawa myths are not simply tales of terror, they are chronicles of human resilience, creativity, and reverence for the natural world. They illustrate how a society can use storytelling to integrate knowledge, morality, and cultural identity, ensuring that even the most fearsome dragon can serve a purpose far beyond destruction. The dragon's story is woven into the fabric of the islands themselves, a timeless presence that continues to guide, teach, and challenge those who look to the moon with wonder and respect. As the centuries passed, the Bakunawa transformed from a terrifying predator into a symbol of cultural identity, resilience, and cosmic awareness. While ancient communities had feared the dragon's hunger for the moon, Modern Filipinos now view Bakunawa as a guardian of tradition and a reminder of humanity's connection to the natural world. Oral narratives persisted through generations, passed from grandparents to children, ensuring that even in a rapidly changing society, the lessons embedded in these stories would remain alive. The dragon became a bridge between the past and the present, reminding people of their ancestors' ingenuity, courage, and reverence for celestial phenomena. Modern interpretations of Bakunawa have expanded beyond folklore into art, literature, and festivals. In Visayan communities, for example, annual celebrations reenact the lunar eclipses that Bakunawa once threatened to consume. Villagers dress in intricate costumes depicting the dragon's sinuous form, perform traditional dances that mimic its movements, and stage mock battles where torches, drums, and reflective objects are used to repel the dragon from the moon. These performances are not only entertaining but also educational, teaching younger generations about astronomy, environmental awareness, and the importance of community solidarity. In many ways, the rituals have transformed fear into celebration, and the dragon into a beloved cultural icon. Filmmakers, writers, and visual artists have also embraced the Bakunawa myth, reimagining it for modern audiences while retaining its symbolic power. Animated films depict the dragon in vibrant detail, showcasing its celestial battles and interactions with humans. Graphic novels explore the tension between the dragon's destructive tendencies and the courage of the villagers, turning Bakunawa into a complex character rather than a simple monster. Even in music, songs inspired by Bakunawa recount the bravery of children and elders who once faced the dragon, blending traditional chants with contemporary melodies. These artistic interpretations keep the myth alive, allowing it to evolve while preserving its essence. Anthropologists and historians note that Bakunawa myths reflect an advanced understanding of lunar cycles, eclipses, and tidal patterns. The timing of its attacks aligns with observable astronomical events, suggesting that early Filipinos used myth to explain natural phenomena while encoding practical knowledge into stories. Farmers, fishermen, and sailors interpreted lunar eclipses as signals to adjust their activities, ensuring that communities adapted to environmental changes. The myth reinforced moral values as well. Those who honored tradition and acted with courage were protected, while those who ignored wisdom or acted selfishly faced consequences. Through Bakunawa, humans learned that survival depended on observation, respect, and collective action, a message that resonates even today. Some tales recount direct encounters with the dragon in extraordinary detail. One legend tells of a village where the moon disappeared entirely during a prolonged eclipse. Panic swept through the community, but a group of children, guided by an elderly Babaylan, devised a ritual combining song, fire, and rhythmic drumming. They climbed a hill overlooking the sea, waving torches to mimic the moonlight and creating a symphony of sound to startle the dragon. According to the story, Bakunawa recoiled, releasing its hold on the moon, and the celestial body slowly returned to the night sky. The villagers celebrated not just the survival of the moon, but their unity, courage, and cleverness. These narratives illustrate a recurring theme. Even in the face of overwhelming cosmic power, humans could influence outcomes through knowledge, bravery, and cooperation. Bakunawa's influence extended beyond eclipses and lunar cycles. It was a symbol of respect for nature's unpredictability and humanity's place within the cosmos. When the dragon was invoked, it reminded people that life, like the moon and tides, was cyclical, delicate, and interconnected. Communities adapted their daily routines to honor the dragon, maintaining rituals that aligned with the lunar calendar, planting and harvesting according to its phases, and monitoring the seas for signs of imbalance. In this way, Bakunawa served as a guardian of ecological wisdom, teaching that human activity must harmonize with natural rhythms. Legends also portray Bakunawa as a moral arbiter. Some stories suggest that selfishness, greed, or neglect of tradition angered the dragon, resulting in harsher eclipses or misfortunes. Conversely, those who acted with integrity, bravery, and reverence were spared. One famous tale tells of a fisherman who, despite the dragon's approach, shared his catch with the village rather than keeping it for himself. That night, the lunar eclipse ended swiftly, the moon restored to its full brightness. The story reinforced communal values, showing that courage and generosity were not only socially virtuous, but cosmically significant. Even in contemporary times, Bakunawa remains a symbol in popular culture. Video games, novels, and animation often feature the dragon as a majestic, terrifying, yet noble figure. Educational programs highlight the myth to teach children about lunar cycles, eclipses, and Philippine folklore. Cultural festivals continue to honor Bakunawa, blending ancient rituals with modern performance, ensuring that the dragon's lessons of courage, unity, and respect remain relevant. In doing so, the Bakunawa myth transcends mere storytelling. It becomes a living tradition, connecting generations across centuries. The dragon's story also provides insight into the philosophical worldview of ancient Filipinos. Bakunawa embodies the interconnectedness of life, nature, and the cosmos. Its hunger for the moon represents the unpredictable forces of the universe, while human responses, through ritual, courage, and unity, demonstrate humanity's capacity to adapt and engage with these forces. Far from being a passive victim of cosmic events, the community actively participated in shaping outcomes, embodying a worldview where observation, respect, and cooperation were essential for survival. In the end, the Bakunawa myth offers more than a tale of a moon-eating dragon. It is a chronicle of human resilience, creativity, and reverence for the natural and celestial worlds. The dragon's presence, once feared as a destructive force, is now celebrated as a teacher and guardian, reminding communities of their place in a vast, interconnected universe. Through festivals, art, and oral tradition, Bakunawa continues to inspire awe, instill moral values, and preserve ancient knowledge. Ultimately, the story of the moon-eating dragon teaches that courage, unity, and respect for natural forces can transform fear into strength, chaos into harmony, and myth into cultural legacy. The dragon, with its immense power and cosmic significance, ensures that every lunar eclipse is not merely a scientific phenomenon, but a moment to reflect, celebrate, and connect with generations past. In this way, Bakunawa endures as a timeless symbol of humanity's enduring relationship with the cosmos, a reminder that even the most fearsome dragon can serve a purpose far beyond terror, to guide, teach, and inspire.